The Battle of Kirina in 1235 was a confrontation between the Soso king Sumanguru Kante and the Mandinka prince Sundiata Keita. The Soso people were an ethnic group and political entity in West Africa, particularly in the region that is now modern-day Mali. Their king, Sumanguru Kante, rose to power as the ruler of the Soso kingdom in the 13th century. The details of his ascent are somewhat shrouded in the mists of history, and accounts can vary. However, certain key elements are often mentioned. Sumanguru is believed to have seized control of the Soso kingdom through a combination of military prowess, sorcery, and political maneuvering. His rise coincided with a period of political instability and power struggles in the region. Taking advantage of this chaos, Sumanguru consolidated his influence, eventually becoming the ruler of the Soso people and a powerful figure in the region. In order to extend his influence over neighboring regions, Sumanguru was able to build his kingdom into a formidable military apparatus, which was a key factor in his ability to maintain control over vassal states. By controlling trade routes and resources, Sumanguru was able to establish economic dominance which secured the loyalty of the vassal states. Sumanguru is generally depicted as a tyrannical figure, a ruthless ruler who oppressed the Mandinka people and others in the region. The Mandinka, also known as the Mandingo, are an ethnic group in West Africa. They primarily inhabit several countries, including Mali, Guinea, Senegal, the Gambia, Ivory Coast, and Sierra Leone. The Mandinka are part of the larger Mandi ethnic group, which has a rich history and cultural heritage. Sumanguru's rule was oppressive, and many Mandinka clans faced subjugation. During the reign of the Soso kingdom, Sundiata of the Keita clan was born, though he was born a cripple, which he overcame later in life. After the death of his father, before he could be crowned ruler of the kingdom of Niani, his stepbrother, Dankaran Tuman, was crowned, and Sundiata was forced into exile. In the dance of time, unseen forces swept history's stage, where strategic choices and whims of fate twirled together, altering the dynamics and birthing a pivotal moment that reshaped the Mandinka's destiny. While Sundiata was still in exile, his half-brother Dankaran Tuman had negotiated an alliance with the Soso kingdom. The alliance was to be sealed through the marriage of his sister Nana Triban to Sumanguru, a union that was met with dismay by Nana Triban, for she had heard rumors of Sumanguru's cruel nature and ruthless ways. Nana Triban was the daughter of Sasuma Berete, King Magan Konfata's first wife. She was Dankaran Tuman's sister and Sundiata's half-sister. Despite her protests and pleas, Nana Triban was married off to Sumanguru, and she found herself in a lavish but cold and unwelcoming palace. Determined to find a way to escape her fate, Nana Triban began to observe her new husband closely, hoping to find a weakness she could exploit. As she spent more time with Sumanguru, Nana Triban realized that beneath his stern exterior there was a man burdened by a great secret. Sumanguru possessed powers that seemed almost magical. Intrigued, Nana Triban decided to use her charm and wit to uncover Sumanguru's powers and what can defeat him. Through flattery of his strength, she got him to reveal the source of his magical power, and he showed her his many totems. She learned that his source of strength was a white cockspur totem that he wore around his neck. At the right time and place, this revelation became very relevant in the survival of the Mandinkas, in his diabolical quest to be in total control of the vassal states. It did not take long before King Sumanguru set his eyes on Niani. He invaded Niani and conquered the kingdom. Dankaran Tuman, Sundiata's half-brother, proves himself a weak king. Fearing for his life, he abandoned his subjects and left the country. The people of Niani could not put up with King Sumanguru's brutal rule, and a delegation was sent to seek out Sundiata, who was in exile in Mema, and persuade him to come back and lead a combat against the oppressive Soso kingdom. Sundiata Keita was born to King Magan Fonfata and Queen Sogolon in the city-state of Niani, which was part of the Mandinka region. Due to political intrigues and Sumanguru's opposition, still an infant, young Sundiata and his close family were exiled from Naini. Sundiata and his mother, Sogolon, sought refuge in the court of the king of Mema, Musa Tunkara, where Sundiata grew in strength and wisdom. He developed leadership qualities and excelled in the art of combat. He formed important alliances during his time in Mema. When the delegation met him in Mema to persuade him to come back and lead his people against the tyrannical rule of Sumanguru, he was reminded that his rise was prophesied and his quest for rulership was framed as a destiny aligned with the well-being of the Mandinka people. Now an adult, Sundiata decided to return to Niani and reclaim his rightful place as the king. In his quest to confront Sumanguru Kante and the Soso kingdom, Sundiata embarked on a diplomatic mission to unite various Mandinka clans and other neighboring groups. The formation of a coalition was a key strategic move to gather support from diverse communities, overcoming traditional rivalries and differences. Sundiata leveraged on his charisma and leadership qualities to mobilize warriors from different regions, emphasizing a common cause against Soso oppression. The gathering of forces involved not only Mandinka warriors, but also individuals from allied communities who joined Sundiata's coalition. He recognized the strength of Sumanguru's infantry-heavy forces and devised a strategy to counter them. The young lion relied heavily on the strength and battle tactics of his cavalry. He figured he had to strategically position his cavalry to exploit weaknesses in the Soso kingdom's formations during the battle. Sundiata began the march towards the plains of Kirina with his assembled forces. Sundiata and his new army head to Wagadu, and there the king Sumaba Sise lends Sundiata half his cavalry. Like wildfire, words began to spread across the region of the young lion prince, who has come to liberate the Mandinkas. Sundiata and his army head on to Taban, where Sundiata's childhood friend Fran Kamara is king. Sumanguru gets wind of Sundiata's advance and sends an infantry army under his son, Soso Bala, to block Sundiata on the way to Taban. Sundiata laughs at Soso Bala's army, proclaiming no mere infantrymen will be able to stop the advancement of his fearsome cavalry. Sundiata attacks immediately, while the Soso troops are expecting to have a day to prepare. With Sundiata at the front of the fight, his charging cavalry was irresistible. Sustaining heavy casualties, the Soso army abandoned the fight and flees. On learning of his son's defeat, Sumanguru decides to lead his own army personally to face Sundiata. The two armies face off at Negueboria in present-day Guinea. Sundiata deploys his forces in an innovative manner and attacked first. Sundiata and his men seems to be making progress when Sumanguru sends in his reserves to encircle Sundiata. But Sundiata has foreseen this trick and uses his own change of formation to nullify Sumanguru's attack. Sundiata attempts to shoot Sumanguru in the middle of the battle, but Sumanguru plucks the arrow from the air and vanishes from the battlefield. After an intense battle, Sumanguru's army retreats to Kulikoro. The battle proves to Sundiata that beating Sumanguru's armies will not be enough. He must also defeat Sumanguru's magic. After the Soso army retreated from Negueboria, Sundiata found their army camped near Bamako. While Sundiata and his army were settling down in the encampment, the Sosos launched a surprised, frightening attack on Sundiata's camp in the night. Sundiata's archers were able to repel the attack with flaming arrows. The Soso army retreats. By dawn, Sumanguru and his army advances to the Kulikoro region of what is now Mali. The opposing armies finally met in Kirina on the Niger River. Sundiata, a master tactician, plans a maneuver to exploit Sumanguru's reliance on infantry. He strategically positions his cavalry on the flanks, ready to encircle the Soso forces. Sumanguru, confident in his infantry strength, forms a solid frontline defense. The air is charged with tension as the clash commences. Sundiata's cavalry sweeps across the battlefield, outflanking the Soso infantry. The Mandinka forces exploit gaps in Sumanguru's defense, creating chaos in the Soso ranks, but Sumanguru's numbers make it difficult for Sundiata's men to make ground. Sumanguru refused to be undone. He deployed his large reserve of cavalry, who began to push back the Mandinka army. The tides had suddenly turned. The Mandinka were at the verge of annihilation. Bodies were dropping dead like a bucketful of flies. In desperation, Sundiata rallied his men to stand their ground against the Sosos and fight till death. The Mandinkas were being slaughtered like chickens. In a last-ditch effort to turn the tides of the battle, Sundiata saw an opportunity. Sundiata brings out his new bow and cockspur arrow and pointed his arrow at Sumanguru in the middle of the intense battle. The day before the great battle, Sumanguru's wife Nana Triban had decided the time was right to join the Mandinka's cause. At night, with the help of a soothsayer, she escaped from the city of Soso and found her way to Sundiata's encampment. There she met her brother Sundiata and told him the source of Sumanguru's powers, and the only weapon that can kill him along with his magical powers was also an arrow made from the spur of a white cock. As the battle raged on, Sundiata's eyes locked onto Sumanguru, his arrow poised with unwavering determination. Amidst the chaos, his focus was unbreakable, a testament to his skill and confidence. He shoots the cockspur arrow. It pierced Sumanguru through the side. Wounded, Sumanguru turns his horse and flees, abandoning the battle. This sets off a panic among the Soso's army. Their formation descended into chaos. This was the pivotal moment. The Mandinka army took advantage and unleashed hell on the Soso army. It was a massacre. The war was over. Sundiata pursues Sumanguru, who takes to foot and hides in a cave. Sumanguru vanished into the shadows of legend, his final breaths echoing silently within the cave's depths, a tale untold. Sundiata then leads his army to the city of Soso. Sundiata takes the city of Soso easily despite its defenses. Sundiata, entering Sumanguru's palace, discovers Sumanguru's magical items are all rotting away, having lost their power. Soso is destroyed and made a wasteland. The Mandingo army are now the new conquerors. Sundiata unified the Mandinkas and formed a new empire called Mandan Kurufaba, the Mali Empire.
All images were generated with AI tools.
Please don't forget to click subscribe and like to get notifications from our channel.